Welcome everyone. Today we are going to look at a very strange paradox in the American economy. Meet Bob, a hardworking man who believes that putting every single penny into his piggy bank is the best way to get rich. But here is the problem that Bob does not see yet. While he sleeps, the value of his hard-earned money is slowly melting away because of a silent, invisible monster that we call inflation. Inflation means that the prices of everything Bob needs, like bread, milk, and housing, are going up every single year. If his money stays still, he is actually becoming poorer even though he is saving. Time is the enemy of stagnant cash. In America, the cost of living historically rises faster than the interest rates offered by traditional savings accounts. Bob is losing the race against the ticking clock of time. Bob thinks the bank is his friend, but the bank is only giving him a tiny fraction of a percent in interest. This is not enough to keep up with the real-world price increases. It feels like running on a treadmill that keeps accelerating. Bob is working harder and saving more, but he stays in the exact same place relative to the economy. It is a very frustrating cycle. Wages in the United States have not always kept pace with the soaring costs of assets. This means Bob's primary income source is losing its purchasing power every decade, making his savings even less effective. If Bob continues this path, his retirement dream will turn into a nightmare. He will have millions of dollars that can only buy a few bags of groceries because of how much prices have risen. Let us talk about the history of the US dollar. Since the gold standard was removed, the currency has lost over 90% of its value. Bob needs to understand this fundamental truth immediately. Life in America is expensive. Between high taxes, rising rent, and the pressure of consumer debt, Bob is finding it harder and harder to put anything aside. Yet he still insists on just saving cash. Every day his cash sits in a standard account. It is like a slow leak in a bucket. Bob is literally watching his future wealth wash away into the hands of the central banking system. The headlines are scary for a reason. Real wealth is not about how many paper bills you have under your mattress. It is about what those bills can actually buy in the real-world market. Bob is at a turning point in his life. He can keep doing what his parents told him to do, or he can learn the secrets of the wealthy who never just save their money. We need to investigate where the wealthy put their money. They do not leave it in a checking account. They look for assets that grow in value or produce a steady stream of income. Real estate is one of those classic hedges. While the dollar gets weaker, the value of a physical house usually stays strong or goes up. Bob needs a house made of bricks, not paper. Investing is like planting a tree. It takes time to grow, but eventually it provides shade and fruit. Bob needs to start planting his financial seeds today if he wants a harvest later. Education is the first step. Bob is starting to realize that the stock market is not just a casino for the rich, but a way for him to own a piece of the most productive companies. Maybe Bob wants to start his own business. Entrepreneurship is a risky but powerful way to beat inflation because he can control the prices of the services or products he sells to the public. Then there is the world of digital assets. Some people call it the new gold. Bob is curious if decentralized finance could be a shield against the printing presses of the central banks today. The older, wiser Bob tells him that the biggest risk is taking no risk at all. Staying safe in cash is actually the most dangerous thing you can do for your long-term financial health. It is time for a change. Bob is saying goodbye to the old way of thinking. He is ready to move his capital into things that actually work for him while he is busy living life. Identity matters. Bob no longer sees himself as just a saver or a consumer. He is now an investor who understands how the global financial machine actually works to create sustainable and lasting wealth. Diversification is the key word for Bob now. He knows he should not put all his eggs in one basket. He is building a balanced portfolio that can survive any kind of economic weather. When the next recession hits, Bob will be ready. While others panic because their cash is worth less, Bob's assets will protect him like a strong umbrella in a heavy and cold downpour. He is looking at the long term now. Financial freedom is not about getting rich overnight. It is about making smart choices consistently over many years. Bob is finally on the right path. Bob is finally learning about the eighth wonder of the world, which is compound interest. By reinvesting his small gains, his wealth starts to grow exponentially, just like a snowball rolling down a snowy mountain. The tiny grape represents the purchasing power of his savings, while the giant stake represents the power of his investments. Bob realizes that he has been starving his future self by choosing the wrong plate. Knowledge is the most valuable asset Bob can own. He spends an hour every single day reading about how money flows through the global markets, ensuring he never makes the same mistakes he made before. Every minute that Bob hesitates is a minute that the value of his cash is decaying. In the world of finance, standing still is the same as moving backwards at a very high speed. He now treats his wealth like a kingdom that needs to be defended. He uses insurance, tax strategies, and smart legal structures to make sure that nobody can take away what he has worked for. Bob doesn't panic when the market goes down anymore. He knows that volatility is just the price of admission for long-term growth. He stays calm, stays focused, and continues to follow his long-term plan. Now Bob wants to help his friends and family. He explains to them that the system is designed to reward owners and punish savers. He is becoming a leader in his own small social community. Bob is thinking about the world 50 years from now. He wants to make sure his family is protected regardless of which technology or which currency becomes the dominant force in the global future economy. Bad debt was a heavy chain around Bob's neck for a long time. By destroying his high-interest consumer debt, he has freed up more cash to put into assets that actually pay him every month. Bob has learned that not all debt is bad. He uses low-interest debt to buy properties, letting the bank's money work for him. This is how the wealthy use leverage to accelerate their path to freedom. It took years of patience and discipline, but Bob's financial garden is finally in full bloom. He no longer has to work for money because his money is working incredibly hard for him every day. The American economy is strong, but Bob is smart enough to diversify globally. He owns pieces of companies in Europe, Asia, and emerging markets to protect himself from a potential decline in the US dollar. Bob has achieved what most people only dream of. He has escaped the rat race. The golden door represents a life of choice, where he can spend his time doing what he loves most. From his new perspective, the financial system looks like a simple maze. Most people are trapped because they follow the old rules. But Bob found the exit by changing his mindset and taking action. Generational wealth is the ultimate goal. Bob is teaching the next generation about the value of assets early on, ensuring that his children will never have to struggle the way that he once did. Bob observes that the scale is tipping. The pile of cash is getting heavier in volume but lighter in value, while the gold remains steady. He understands that physical scarcity is the key to preserving wealth. Being an investor means being the captain of your own ship. Bob navigates through news cycles, political changes, and economic reports with a steady hand, never letting emotions dictate his long-term financial decisions or strategy. Modern technology has made it easier than ever for Bob to track his net worth. He doesn't check it every hour, but he keeps a close eye on the trends to ensure he stays on track. Investing is part science and part art. Bob is constantly experimenting with small amounts of capital in new sectors to see what works best for his specific risk tolerance and his long-term financial goals. The greatest victory for Bob was overcoming his own fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of losing money, and fear of change were his biggest obstacles, but he conquered them all through education and bravery. They say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Bob has started surrounding himself with people who think big and understand the mechanics of wealth and success. Bob has learned the power of delayed gratification. Instead of buying things to impress people he doesn't like, he saves his capital to buy assets that will give him true freedom in the future. Bob is also looking into the future of energy. He knows that the world is changing, and he wants his investments to reflect the technologies that will be dominant in the next 20 or 30 years. With a clear direction and a solid plan, Bob is no longer lost in the woods of financial confusion. Every step he takes is calculated and brings him closer to his ultimate destination of independence. The letter says his accounts are growing, but Bob just smiles. He knows the real wealth is the peace of mind he has gained. He is finally sleeping well at night, knowing his future is secure. Bob understands that consistency is the most important ingredient in the recipe for wealth. He does not try to time the market perfectly. Instead, he focuses on time in the market to grow his assets. Math does not lie, and Bob has finally done the calculations for himself. He sees that even a small increase in his annual return can result in hundreds of thousands of extra dollars over his lifetime. Financial literacy has given Bob a superpower. While most people are stressed about their bills, Bob feels light and free because he has built a system that takes care of his needs automatically every month. A market crash is just a storm for Bob. Because he has diversified his holdings and kept some liquid assets, he can protect his lifestyle without having to sell his precious investments at a low price. Having knowledge is good, but taking action is what actually changes Bob's life. He stopped watching from the sidelines and started participating in the economy as an owner, instead of just being a simple consumer. Bob is learning that real things have value when currencies are weak. By owning commodities, he ensures that he has a stake in the essential materials that the entire world needs to function every day. True wealth is not just about the numbers in a bank account, it is about the freedom from anxiety. Bob has achieved a state of financial peace that allows him to focus on what matters. Taxes can be the biggest expense for an American worker. Bob is learning how to use legal tax advantages like retirement accounts and depreciation to keep more of his money working for his own future. The bridge represents the shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. Bob no longer fears that there is not enough money to go around. He sees opportunities for growth everywhere he looks now. Bob has learned to ignore the noise of the 24-hour news cycle. He knows that sensational headlines are designed to grab attention, not to provide sound financial advice for a long-term investor like himself. The key is his discipline. Every month, regardless of what is happening in the world, Bob unlocks a portion of his income and sends it to work in his investment accounts without any excuses. Bob sees that some trees are rotting while others are growing strong. He chooses to stay away from the dying currencies and hitches his wagon to the assets that show real strength and long-term durability. Because his investments are growing, Bob can finally balance his life. He spends less time at the office and more time with his family, which was his original goal when he started this journey. The world of banking is changing fast with automation and artificial intelligence. Bob is making sure that he stays ahead of the curve by investing in the technology companies that are building this new future. Bob's goal is to have his passive income exceed his monthly expenses. Once he reaches that point, work becomes an optional choice rather than a mandatory requirement for his survival in the modern world. The lighthouse represents his long-term financial vision. Even when the sea of the economy gets rough and foggy, Bob keeps his eyes fixed on the light to ensure he never loses his way. Having wealth allows Bob to be more generous. He realizes that the true value of money is the ability to help others and make a positive impact on his local community and the world. Bob has finally broken through his own internal glass ceiling. He used to think that being wealthy was only for other people, but now he knows that it is possible for anyone with a plan. Bob knows when to ask for help. He consults with experts to fine-tune his strategy, ensuring that his portfolio is optimized for maximum efficiency and minimum risk as he gets closer to his retirement. The transformation is complete. Bob has changed from a worried saver into a confident and successful investor. He has built a legacy that will last much longer than his own lifetime on this earth. Technology is the backbone of the modern economy. Bob makes sure to invest in the infrastructure of the internet and data centers, knowing that the digital world will only continue to expand and grow. Small beginnings lead to great things. Bob remembers when he only had $100 to invest, and now he looks at his growing portfolio with a sense of pride and immense gratitude for his persistence. Bob's perspective has changed entirely. He sees the big picture of the global economy and understands how everything is connected, from interest rates in America to trade deals in faraway lands across the ocean. He builds his wealth brick by brick, day by day. Bob knows that there are no shortcuts to real success, and he is happy to put in the work required to build a solid foundation. Bob is in the pilot's seat now. He has total control over his destination and his speed. He is no longer a passenger in someone else's economic game. He is the master of his own destiny. A well-tended garden yields the best results. Bob regularly prunes his portfolio, selling off the underperforming assets and letting his winners continue to grow and blossom into even greater wealth over the coming years. Security is a top priority for Bob. He uses the latest encryption and security measures to protect his digital assets from hackers and scammers, ensuring that his hard-earned wealth remains safe and sound. It is a simple formula, but it is the most important lesson Bob ever learned. He makes sure that every year his assets grow faster than his liabilities, ensuring his net worth always moves in the right direction. Looking at the past helps Bob predict the future. He sees the patterns of cycles and bubbles, which helps him stay rational when everyone else is getting caught up in the latest financial craze or fad. Bob has won the game of money. But for him, the trophy isn't just about the wealth, it's about the person he had to become to achieve it: disciplined, educated, and incredibly resilient in the face of challenges. Life is simple and good for Bob now. He enjoys the little things, knowing that his financial future is fully taken care of. He has reached the point of enough, which is the ultimate goal. Real estate provides Bob with a tangible sense of security. He likes knowing that he owns a piece of the earth that provides shelter for families while also generating a steady monthly rental income for him. Bob has learned to make time work for him instead of against him. By investing early and often, he has harnessed the power of time to create a massive amount of wealth with relatively little effort. The education never ends. Bob continues to learn about new asset classes and economic theories, staying sharp and keeping his mind open to new possibilities in the ever-changing world of global finance and money. Every day is a new opportunity for Bob. He wakes up with a sense of purpose and excitement, ready to see what the market has to offer and how he can continue to grow his legacy. The journey was long, but the view from the top is worth it. Bob looks out over the landscape of his life and feels a deep sense of satisfaction for the choices he made years ago. If Bob can do it, so can you. The path to financial freedom is open to anyone who is willing to stop just saving and start investing in the future of the American and global economy. Bob is heading off into a bright and wealthy retirement. He has no regrets, only excitement for the adventures that lie ahead in this new chapter of his long and very successful financial life story. Remember, saving money might make you feel safe today, but investing it is what will make you truly wealthy tomorrow. Take the first step today, just like Bob did, and change your life forever. Thank you for following Bob's journey through the world of American finance. We hope you learned that your money should never stay idle. Make it work, make it grow, and secure your own bright future starting now.